Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have Colin Dewey and I came across Colin ages ago and then I kind of fell off the YouTubing scheme because I just don't have the patience to sit through even a 5-minute video on YouTube. I'm sorry. But then everything kind of like became this Instagram reality, and then all of a sudden Colin pops up again and I'm like, I recognize this guy. And now every single time either one of us posts, we kind of feed off each other's ideas like, oh my God, this is so accurate. This is exactly why people struggle to get to where they want to be, why they struggle to see the results they want, why they struggle to keep the results they want, and why broken metabolisms and reverse dieting is all the hype lately, because people feel as though they've now ruined their metabolism. They feel as though the reverse didn't work for them, or they keep screwing up the reverse. And something that Colin and I kind of dug into before I clicked record is 3 of the biggest issues that hold people back is number 1, lack of patience. Actually, there's 4. Number 1, lack of patience. The all or nothing. I have to get 100% right. I have to do all the things right now. Otherwise, what's the point? If I don't feel like I did my very best, then it's not worth saying it was a session or it was a day that gets a green light. And then there's the fear of you don't want to gain more body fat. You don't want to feel more uncomfortable. Like, you start with a coach and they say that we're going to start on a primer phase. We're not going to put you into this crazy deficit. We're not going to focus on fat loss straight away, which you can still lose fat and look leaner when you're not focusing on fat loss. It doesn't automatically mean now you're going to gain fat. It's like a tidy up phase. But that aside, you just want to get into a fat loss phase as fast as possible, lose it as fast as possible. Kind of comes into the patience. But the biggest part is the grass is always greener on the other side. When you're in maintenance, when you're building, so many people keep one foot out the door. I think this is a great place to start the conversation and get your take on it and what you've seen in your 10 years of coaching as well. People keep one foot out the door in the when can I do the next diet? I just want to reveal the muscle that I built. There is always that foot out the door. But then when you're in a diet, it's the hunger. Like, if you do a diet properly, if you do a fat loss phase properly, you are going to experience some hunger. It is going to be difficult to do the things. Like, fat loss is the actual hardest part of it all. Yet it's the thing everyone is so much better at than maintaining the body, than building the physique. That is the hardest part, because that's what people struggle with. Oh, I can't get leaner legs. I'm not looking lean. Like, look into your history. You've lost weight before. Were you ever happy with the result? Did you ever reveal the lean toned body of it? Did you keep the results? No. And here is why. Here is Colin. I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk about his years of experience in what he has found to be this whole foot out the door mentality that stops you actually getting to the other side, because you won't jump through the fence or over the fence.
Either way. So yes, I mean, I think you just summed it all up. I don't even need to say anything anymore. No, but yeah, I mean, so I have been coaching for almost a decade. It'll be a decade in like a half a year or something like that. And that has kind of become my kind of bread and butter, is the reverse dieting, helping people get past the yo-yo dieting mentality and get their metabolisms back into a better spot. Have that patience to really set yourself up for success and not just constantly jump back into dieting. And it's a struggle, because everyone wants just to lose weight. Like, that's the number one goal. And the thing that we talked about before that you brought up was the grass is greener mentality. And it's just a killer, because if you're in a position where you've had a horrible history of dieting, your metabolism is tanked, and you're just not in a position to be able to lose, you got to take that time to build it back up again and go through that build. But if you spend your whole time in that reverse diet, just constantly focusing on, I just want to lose weight. I just want to get this weight off. I don't want to gain any weight. And this is just miserable. And you're ended up missing out on the entire best part of the journey, because everything is better in the reverse. Everything. You're going to be less hungry. You're going to have more flexibility in your diet. You're going to have more energy. You're going to sleep better, recover better, perform better. You're going to get stronger. Like, literally everything is better. The fat loss phase, the only benefit of a fat loss phase is you lose some body fat, right? Like, everything else is going to get worse. So it's like, you really want to focus on the positives of whatever phase you're in, and just know it's a temporary thing. and you got to put in the work now to set yourself up for success. But you don't want to do that and then just jump into your fallows phase, and now all of a sudden you miss all the things that you were not enjoying before. And I see that all the time in applications. I'm sure you probably see this. Like, what are your goals? Well, I want to improve my metabolism, and I want to eat 3,000 calories a day, and I want to lose body fat, and I want to feel good, and I want to be completely shredded, and I want to get strong. And it's like they want all the things all at the same time, right?
Colin, you are actually everything you just said. The 3,000 calories literally on the dot, except I said I want to be part of the 600 grams club. Me, 6 years ago, sent that exact application to my coach. I want to deadlift 3.8 times to 4 times my body weight. I want to be able to squat 3 times my body weight. I want to be able to be part of the 600 gram club. And this is all coming from, I'm stuck at 160 grams of carbs. I'm seeing people thriving, loving their life. And it's like, I want this, but you can want something. It's not going to do anything if you're not willing to do the work there. Continue on.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you might be able to have, I mean, nobody can guarantee you're going to be able to eat X amount of calories. It's very individual, but it's like you can probably have all those things, just not all at the same time, right? Like they're going to be done in different phases. So yeah, you know, in your reverse, you're going to be able to have a lot more food, and you are going to get stronger, and you are going to build muscle and your metabolism, and you're going to feel good, and all that stuff is going to happen. But then when you go into a fat loss phase, I mean, yeah, we can take a lot of strategies to help to minimize, you know, hunger levels and strength loss and performance and stuff. And a lot of these things don't usually get that much worse until later on in the cut. But it's like at some point you're going to see some of these things, right? Like you're going to deal with hunger, you're going to lose some energy, you know, you might lose a little bit of strength. But it's like if you're just always focused on the opposite of whatever you're trying to accomplish at that time, you're never going to be happy. And how are you going to have a long, successful journey if you're always miserable? I heard a quote once I just loved, and it's always stuck with me. There is no happy ending to an unhappy journey, right? Like you can't be miserable the whole time and expect to have this massive success. So it's like, understand that it's a temporary phase to get you where you want to be, enjoy it, and your time to do the other thing will come, and then enjoy that.
You can't hate yourself or berate yourself or negative self-talk yourself to a place that you love the journey, love yourself, and appreciate your body, because you don't wake up one day and start loving your body. You don't wake up one day and become an overnight success. Like overnight success, the massive ultimatum that just happens all of a sudden, the lottery ticket, whatever it is, that is the accumulation of all of the past efforts done together. It's the tiny things compounded, because you cannot have big wins without small wins. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. And it's funny when you do have those things in maintenance, exactly as you said, you're able to enjoy this stuff now. It becomes enjoyable for at least 1 or 2 weeks, but then you start to feel frumpy. Your period probably comes, and then you start to feel even more frumpy. And then you just blame everything on, I just feel fat, I need to cut weight. Or I feel like people, they're like hard on their diet, they're hard on their training in a fat loss phase because there is an end goal, but people don't see the importance of anything outside of that. So then they start to get more flexible. They let more things in that are out of their control. And then all of a sudden it's, oh no, I need to diet again. I need to fix this, instead of just enhancing everything that you are doing now. And I know that I was part of this as well, where I would go into this phase where I'm not dieting anymore. And then all of a sudden some things start to slip, or I don't have as much structure. And when I don't have structure, I feel out of control. And when you don't feel in control of your environment, or your environment in itself is out of control, but you still have your control of whatever you're doing, things don't feel like they're moving in the way that you want them to. So then all of a sudden it's just like blaming your body, especially if you haven't worked through the underlying stuff, because you can be granted that goal body, that I woke up like this and got my dream body. But if you haven't worked on that underlying stuff, you're going to fall back to your default. You will always fall back to your default systems. And something you mentioned is, how can you appreciate all of those things in maintenance, the flexibility, the eating more carbs, the feeling stronger, if you're still so focused on what you lack, on wanting to lose the fat, on wanting it all now, because you can't have it all now. And the question then, what stops people from actually thriving outside of fat loss? And why is fat loss always the default in our minds?
Boy, I mean, that's a we could go a lot of directions with that, right? And I mean, the thing that comes to my mind right off the bat is just kind of the pressures from society's social media, right? Like we just see all these highlight reels everywhere we look. Everyone looks fantastic, and there's just all this pressure that we feel like we need to look our best at all times, and a lot of it ends up turning into like, you just place too much self-worth on your body image, body weight, and feel like that's going to be the thing that makes you happy, when at the end of the day, if you're not enough as you are now, you're probably not going to be enough when you lose either. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen this as a coach, that so many people say, well, if I just get down to a certain body weight or a certain look, then I'll be happy, right? Or I'll even be able to handle a reverse diet better because I'll be at a lower body weight, so it'll be easier to handle, when in reality it actually makes it even harder. And I mean, the amount of people that I've seen that have applied saying like, I'm stuck, I'm so frustrated, I can't lose any of this abdominal fat, and I'm so fat. And then they send you pictures and it's like abs popping everywhere and like completely shredded to the bone. It's like, don't assume just because people are lean that they're happy. Most of the time they have the worst. It's like the leaner someone is, the worse their body image typically is. And I know I kind of went off tangent and I don't even remember the initial question anymore, but it just kills me that it's so hard to get people to not be so wrapped in tying their happiness into whatever their body shape is at that time, especially when at the end of the day, literally nobody in this world cares what any of us look like. Like you don't go around judging what everyone else looks like, and you don't care. They don't care what you look like either, but it just destroys lives. And it's like, we gotta just slow down. And I'm not saying there isn't value in creating a better body. And I think it could be tremendous. It's why I do what I do, because I saw how much more confident I felt when I made changes, and I felt great. But what I wasn't prepared for when I started coaching was not many people would have my mindset, right? It was, oh, let's just try to get in better shape and just take what I get and be happy with whatever progress I make, regardless of how long it takes or whatever the scale does. Like, I just was happy to make changes, and it was great. But when we put so much pressure on timelines and it has to be done right away, it puts all this unnecessary pressure on you, and it makes it feel like something's wrong when there isn't necessarily anything wrong. Again, totally off topic into a tangent, but that's what I do. So be prepared.
Oh, you said it's going to be a whole hour of tangents, but you ended on something powerful there, and my ADHD almost forgot it, but it just brought it back again. And that's, it's like I forgot it, but saying my ADHD forgot it, I remembered it. It's where you mentioned that we put so much pressure on ourselves to get things done ASAP. But if you think about your goals, it's like running to a horizon. You're never going to feel like you're there. And if you think that there is a there that you're going to be finally happy, you're going to keep letting yourself down, because a there is not a physical point. It is literally your whole transformation through the journey, through the person you're becoming. Because I'm only at this place now because of all the shit that I went through before, all the crap that I put upon myself. But if I had to be completely honest with what changed everything, it's when I lost 3 kilos over lockdown, and most of that being muscle, because I pulled a hamstring during training for a half marathon, and my training went down the gutter. And then it got to a point where I was mentally in such a shithole that I did not train for 5 weeks. I did like 2 sessions within that whole 5 weeks. And then I finally got to the gym, and I didn't realize how much muscle I lost through that period. Now, yes, this is the funny part though, because we'll talk about the legs later. That will be a tangent, because I want to keep talking about that point. Almost did a tangent again. Legs. The pressure you put on yourself. And that's because a lot of people start a fat loss phase thinking that all the sacrifices, all the hard work, all that grit that you need to put into that intentional effort is something that's always going to have to be there. And you know what? It's really easy to do when you're in your 20s, because you still have the ability to do a lot of neural rewiring. Like, I think that is where I'm blessed, because I started developing the right habits in my 20s, because I'm struggling like hell right now, developing the right habits in other areas of my life for other things. But because I developed those early, I'm like, they're autopilot. They're my identity. They're the things that I plan around, because I know how it makes me feel. And if I don't do that thing, I just let myself down on my word. How can I have any confidence or trust in myself if I don't show up? Like, today is a Friday. Fridays are my interval days. I never want to do my interval days. They're freaking hard. And I know that I have 3 options. I can use the airdyne, I can use a treadmill, I can use the stair mill. The overarching goal is the same thing, intervals, but I have 3 ways to get there. And if you only give yourself one pathway to where you want to go, and you live on a tightrope instead of expanding it to be the road of your life, the road less traveled, which you can take it wherever the hell you want, because it is now your, like, I read a book where it's just like, actually, no, we don't want to be on a road. We want to be on a path. The road is like straight, cut and dry, and it's where everyone's going. It's where we don't want to be. Like, that's the obesogenic society. We are now creating our own path. You decide where that path moves, and you are coming off the road that you've been traveling on for years that has been cemented down, and those are the habits that you've built over the years. It's not going to be easy to keep forging a new path when you are literally creating it from the get-go. But the more that you travel along that path, the more well trodden it becomes. But anyway, when you start a fat loss phase, I hate the whole, there's 2 things I hate. Number 1, the food you need to eat in a fat loss phase should be the same as what you eat outside of a fat loss phase. That's absolutely bullshit, and I think it ruins people. I get so triggered when I see that post. And the second one is, make sure your dieting is sustainable. No, it should not be sustainable, because you're not going to be eating 1,500 calories for the rest of your life if that's what you're dieting on. The habits and the lifestyle, the person you become, the changes you make to your environment, this is who I'm becoming. That stuff that you invest into in the process is the sustainable part. The dieting isn't. The hardship isn't. And there was a book that I was reading. I highly recommend it. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. But he talks about how much intentional effort needs to be put into just the smallest, most insignificant actions, because they look insignificant. It's easy to do them, but it's just as easy not to do them because we don't see the importance in them. But doing them consistently over time, being intentional about changing our habits, that's fucking hard to start with. But then it starts to become a lot easier the more that you make that choice, the more that you start refiring that neural pattern. We get out of the cement into the new fluid ways of moving, and then that starts to shrink. It doesn't disappear because relapse is a thing, but you start moving in that direction. I'm talking on a monologue, but there's so much I see you writing down that I want you to go off as well, because it's so important. But that is like, it's this, okay, now we're forging this new pattern. It's becoming a thing. It becomes like, you do the hard shit now and it becomes easier. The sacrifices you make now, they won't feel as sacrificial later on. And if you keep seeing it as, I need to put my pressure on myself to achieve it all now, without realizing you will never get your goal body in the first fat loss phase. That's why Colin talks on and on about reverse dieting, because that first fat loss phase, it, like, you hit this point where you just become quote unquote fat loss resistant, weight loss resistant. We're going to talk about that later on, because there's a lot more to that than, because there's no real such thing as that, but it does exist mentally. Take it away.
Okay, I've made some bullet points because you talked about a lot of stuff and I want to hit them all. So one of the things you brought up was how this lifestyle in general kind of, this is the way I interpret it anyways, correct me if I'm wrong, the lifestyle that we live here taught you to kind of have like more grit in outside world, like to just become a stronger person in general and be able to handle things better. Did I get that right or not?
No, it's more so the journey you go through, you start to develop that grit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of think it's similar. So one of the things that I just love about changing your body and everything, if you do it the right way and don't put too much pressure on it, is like, I have a saying, I like to say, if you don't let the weights beat you, you won't let life beat you. And what I mean by that is, you go into the gym and you're trying to accomplish a big goal. At first, you're trying to do it and you can't do it, right? Like, you're not just going to squat 500 pounds the first time you ever try to squat. And it's like, you go in there and you feel like, oh man, like I couldn't even squat 100 pounds, 200 pounds sounds impossible, right? But then you keep going back in and you get stronger and you get better and you get better. And all of a sudden, you're able to do that, right? You're able to accomplish things that you didn't think were possible. And especially when it's really hard and say you fail at it over and over again. When I was a powerlifter, I haven't in years, but I used to be a powerlifter. I spent a year and a half failing over and over and over again, trying to hit 515 pounds. There was something about that. Like, I got to 500 like instantly. And then I just spent a year and a half trying to add that extra 15 pounds. And I could not get it to save my life. And I kept failing, but I just kept going. I kept putting in more work and trying to figure out what's going on with my programming and my technique. And I kept going and kept going. And I finally got that 515, which it may sound weird because it's only a deadlift. I would put it in the top 5 proudest moments of my life, just because I was like, it was so hard and I wanted to quit so many times, but I didn't. That's what I mean by, if you don't let the weights beat you, you won't let life beat you, because it teaches you to grind. It teaches you the value of perseverance. And if you keep going, good things come. And so many people are so quick to give up on anything that doesn't come easily. And you're missing out on the most valuable part of life. And that is getting through the hard thing that's teaching you to become stronger and be able to handle life challenges. So that's why I love this. And it's almost impossible to tell someone that and have that click, because you kind of have to go through it for it to understand it, right? Like, you don't, it probably sounds crazy if you've never gone through it, but I literally think that lifting is basically life's greatest metaphor, because it teaches you those things. I could tell you wanted to say something.
Now there's 2 things, because you mentioned the lifting is the greatest metaphor, but it isn't for most people, because most people are changing programs every 4 weeks, because that's when progress starts to slow down. When usually it's at the 4-week point, keeping things in the same time, fighting for the same things. I think powerlifting itself, like not doing powerlifting, but having powerlifting strength specific type of training like that, power building, probably for the people that actually want to sculpt their body, because powerlifting in itself won't do that. You mentioned the deadlift. For me, it was the bench press. I couldn't get past 55 kilos. And then all of a sudden I got 62.5 and 65 kilos. And that was simply from a change in my technique. So initial progress can be faster to start with. My deadlift as an example, everyone probably knows me as the deadlift girl. My deadlift as an example, I had a technique shift to get better hinging, because I had a really good hinge, but if I did it with like more bent knees, I was weaker. Just by doing that, I added an extra 7.5 kilos to my deadlift. But from there on, it was a fight. And this is the same with your progress. We start to see initial progress at first, and then as soon as it slows down, we feel like we're broken, like something is wrong with us. But no, it just means you leveled up, and this is where the grit starts to come in. And then the other part, so you can continue on, was when you said we're all in a rush to get there. It's like, what's the rush anyway to get through this? Because it's like we're in a rush to get to where? The grave? We're all heading to the grave. Right. You're meant to experience and process.
Why are we in a rush to get to a goal that has no deadline or no end, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So next part I jotted down was sustainability, because I am someone who uses that word a lot, but I have made that distinction before a couple times in posts, and it's a great point. What I like to say is the lifestyle has to be sustainable, but your fat loss phase is not. Right? Like, you don't want to go into your fat loss phase and just intentionally do everything you hate and make it just miserable and do things that you don't have to do just because someone said that you can't eat carbs or something like that. But it's going to be challenging, and it's not going to be the fun, sustainable part of the process. But it's like, why make it take longer and be harder than it has to be because you feel like you keep getting FOMO and have to go out and have whatever you want every other week or whatever, and it keeps setting you back. It's like, get in, hit it, get it done, and get out. Don't spend more time than you need to. I would rather be more spot on for a shorter period of time so I can get it done and then get back out and get my calories back up, versus sometimes it just drags on for weeks, months on end, because there's so many ups and downs and yo-yos that it just doesn't go very well. And the less you stick to the plan, the more aggressive you're going to have to be, the less calories you're going to get, the more cardio you have to do. Your body's still going to start adapting down to those lower calories, even though you're occasionally binging, right? So it's going to fight you more. It's going to take that much longer to get through it. You're going to have to be that much more aggressive. So get it done, right? Don't rush it, but don't let it take longer than it needs to either.
I'm going to save the legs for the end, because you just said something else really important there as well. And that's, you put yourself onto a 1200, a 1500 calorie metabolic engine. And from there onwards, it's like every single time you overeat without you realizing, or let little things slip in, drink the alcohol, whatever the hell, you are actually more predisposed to gain fat in a deficit, because you're not in a deficit. Like, your metabolism is here, but every single time you eat this extra bit of food, your stress hormones are really low. I mean, are really high, from the fact that you're not only physically dieting, but you're mentally dieting, and that is stressful in itself. You're probably overdoing the cardio, whatever the hell. That in itself is putting extra stress on your body. Your body isn't in a place to be building muscle when you're mentally eating 1,200 to 1,500 calories, but physically your body is doing otherwise. Like, you are doing otherwise. If you can't build muscle, if you're not burning fat because you keep taking yourself out of this deficit, or you keep eating more, how are you going to get that body composition that you want? And this is what leads to fat loss resistance, because now you don't want to end up worse. You've tried all these prior approaches before, and your whole thinking of it is, I put so much effort. Well, the way that a lot of people say it is, I've been dieting for years. I'm sick of putting so much effort into thinking about everything that I eat, everything that I track, but I'm not seeing any results. It's like, you haven't been dieting for years. You've been on and off for years. You've been thinking about it for years, but you've never been on a structured plan with a set direction in the right direction, because you can do whatever the hell you want, but if it's in the wrong direction, or the ladder is up against the wrong wall, are you really getting to where you want to be? No, but you are doing the physical work, and you're getting exhausted from it. And if you don't take enough time to mentally get yourself out of the dieter's mentality, and this isn't physically not dieting. I think a lot of people, this is going to be a really good topic. I have like 4 posts of yours I still want to talk about, but they're open over there because I want to bring them up at the end. But
okay.
A lot of people, they keep themselves mentally in this dieting phase. I forgot where I was heading. Where was I heading?
Well, we were talking about kind of yo-yoing, and people say that they diet for, years, but they really haven't been. And there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, it's, you haven't been properly in that dieting phase. You haven't been properly in this like building phase. If you just allowed yourself to get out of that mentality of always chasing the diet, of always needing to lean up, but it's actually like, okay, what can I add to my life? How can I get stronger? How can I build this? You start to reduce that dieting fatigue, and it becomes so much easier to stick to that diet. I still forget where I was heading, but I want you to take that for now, and then we'll go into the other part later on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, what we talked about in the beginning, in terms of getting too caught up in the results and the speed of it, and always just getting so hyper focused on that end goal that doesn't even exist. But I don't want people to get confused either when we talk about, the calories going up and down, and how your body kind of adapts down to lower calories, and if you keep going over, it's going to be a disaster. I don't want that to be confused with like systematic like diet breaks and strategies where, yes, you intentionally bring calories up to help minimize some of those adaptations, and to break up the monotony of the diet and refuel the body and things like that. Those are fantastic. What we're talking about is large swings, like starve yourself, binge like crazy, starve yourself, binge like crazy, and how that is just a disaster. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, and your body's going to fight you hard. So yes, sometimes it's good to bring calories up. I utilize diet breaks all the time. I think they're fantastic. So you don't want to just stay low calorie all the time, because your body is going to just start fighting you harder. So you need to give it a reason not to fight you. And that's a great strategy to do that. I think that's what I had to say about that.
I actually, you reminded me of what I wanted to say, but it reminds me of our last interaction on Instagram, where I always say tracking your food. You said it in terms of dieting, but tracking your food doesn't inherently mean you're tracking to lose weight. And I think that's where people get such a negative relationship with food tracking, because it's like, I need to track to hit X amount of calories, and it's like this abysmally low level. So then they don't track the things that are off plan. I actually found myself almost getting caught in this mindset a couple of weeks ago. It's like, oh shit, that's going to take my protein over 220 grams. That's like so much more than what I actually got programmed. I'm not going to log that in, because he's going to see that my protein went way over. But it's just like, we can get so caught in being so perfect with our tracking, instead of just using it as a tool of data to track everything that we eat. Whereas now, whenever I track my food, I make sure that I'm fueling myself, because now that I've got 2 cardio days, and my goal is to maximize muscle, because I'm now in the phase where my hormones aren't optimal. Like, I'm not in my 20s anymore. I need to actually fuel my body. I need to be able to recover, to build muscle, and not let myself risk any muscle loss with everything that I'm doing. So I want to fuel that. I don't want to go into a session feeling completely depleted because of my own doing with my nutrition. I want to make sure that, like, there are all these things that I'm speaking about that adds to my journey, adds fullness, ripeness to my journey that you will never get from trying to eat at your lowest. Because when I first did that, I was always trying to stay at 800 calories up until 3 p.m. because I'm someone that I hated going to sleep when I didn't have something really fulfilling and comfort eating before bed. So I would eat 800 calories up to 3 p.m., keep myself away from the kitchen, and then eat the remaining 500 calories between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. and then go to bed soon after that, because that is the life I shrunk myself to. It's like, how can you enjoy life like that? And then if you go out to indulge in whatever the hell you indulge in, how is that helping you in any way? Because that indulgence, whatever you eat then, isn't going to, as Colin said, strategically build muscle. You aren't in a place to lose fat with your habits and your antics. Eating 800 calories for the majority of the day actually slowed down my metabolism because I didn't have energy throughout the day. My training sessions were bullshit. So I wasn't burning all that I could have been burning. And being a small female, my deficit, quote unquote, was not a deficit anymore. It's like, yeah, it's a deficit on paper because you did the math. But did you really do the math of what your body's doing? But anyway, the actual topic I wanted to talk about before that tangent was if people allow themselves to intentionally eat more, because most of the time people are eating more. They're getting out of a diet, but that out of the diet isn't intentional. You're not intentionally trying to maximize maintenance. You're not intentionally trying to build the body. We're not in this for just weight loss. Fat loss is not the default. It should not be the default. Weight loss is not the goal. Why do you want weight? Like, people always say, what should I be doing for weight loss in terms of calories, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, as an example, X amount of weight is not the end goal. How do you actually want to feel on the way there? Because most of the time, weighing X amount isn't what we want. We want to look a certain way. We want to look a certain way. And weight and look doesn't always correlate. And many of the times we don't even know where we pick these numbers from. It's usually the doctor's office, a best friend, someone else's weight, what you think will look better on you, or a weight that you weighed in the past. But it's like, you're not wanting weight loss. You're wanting an end look and an end feel. But you will never get that end look if you don't do the feeling part of the journey. Because I was in my best shape at my very first bodybuilding comp. 8 competitions later, I looked worse. I had the worst skin with like pimples and bumps and all that shit all over it because of how much I impact my hormones from constantly dieting. That's 8 competitions within 2 years. Like, that shit was not good for my body. And then I went into powerlifting, which saved my life. But it's like we brought this bodybuilding world into reality. But yeah, the intentionally eating more, I think, is the biggest bottleneck of most people, because people don't reverse diet the right way. It's like, yeah, it just means eating more food. No, it doesn't. There's strategy to it.
So yeah, a few things on that. I mean, you're always posting about the intentionally eating more, and I love that because it's a message that needs to get out there that so many people struggle with. And I honestly do believe, I say it all the time, that what you do when you're not dieting is significantly more important than what you do when you are dieting. Because if you don't lead up to your diet in an intentional way, the diet's not going to go well, and you're not going to have the muscle that you want to display. Your metabolism's not going to be in a great place. And it's like all the things that you want to display when you're in your cut are built when you're intentionally increasing calories and putting yourself in the position to be able to see that success. If you're yo-yoing all over the place, you're not going to come back and display this better physique because you haven't taken the time to build. And it's just like, if you're doing this thing right, you should spend way more of your life not dieting than you do dieting. Like, if they're even like remotely the same, then you probably shouldn't be, you're doing something wrong right now. Yeah, in the early stages, if you have a lot of weight to lose, it's a different story, right? Like, if you're 300-400 pounds, it's like, that's not the same thing. But even then, you still got to break it up. You can't be just constantly always dieting. But man, like, it's such a hard message to get through to people that all the improvements that you want to make are going to come from when you're building. It's hard because you don't see it. When you're in the process, if you're building muscle, unless you're really new, you're not going to see it, right? Like you see you're accumulating some fat, but you don't really see the better definition in your arms or legs or anything else. And it's just like, it feels like nothing's happening. I'm working so hard, but I'm not building any muscle. You're just not seeing it. You're going to see it when you eventually, hopefully in a long time, go down the fat loss phase, and then you're going to display all that muscle that you've built. And it's just, the other thing that's along the same topic with regards to the reverse dieting process and everything and gaining weight, because that is probably the number one thing that stops people from really going through it with the reverse diet, even if they're just completely trashed, can't lose weight on 1,200 calories or whatever random number, and they're struggling. They still don't want to go through the reverse because they just do not want to gain weight. Like the thought of that just makes them cringe. But here's what I've actually found. People who do not reverse diet because they don't want to gain weight usually end up gaining even more weight by not reverse dieting, but without improving their metabolism. Because what happens? They just keep trying to stick with it, and they're still crushing themselves on low calories and trying to do it, and it's not working. Finally, F it, it's too much, it's not worth it, screw it. And then they just go on a rampant 3-month binge and gain 20 pounds, and then freak out and then go, crap, what have I done? Come back, try to diet. There's been nowhere near enough time for the body to adapt. So it's like you may have seen like a tiny itty bitty increase in metabolism, but not much because you haven't had any time. You come back, body doesn't respond. You're even worse off than when you were, and now you still need the reverse. Whereas within the reverse, yeah, you're gonna gain some weight. Like unless you're one of the very, very lucky few, and even then, like there's usually a reason why people don't, because they get more accurate. That's a different topic. But it's like if you go through the reverse, yeah, you're going to gain some weight, but it's systematic, it's controlled, and you're doing it with the benefit of putting your body in a fantastic place metabolically so you can come back. But if you yo-yo, you gain more, you do nothing for your metabolism, and now you've done exactly what you didn't want to do without that improvement. It just destroys people. So it's like, don't be afraid of it. If it's something that you struggle with, you got to do it. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I'm not saying it's easy, right? Like it's tough, especially when you've spent your whole life. Like one of the things you kind of talked about before was a lot of this journey is trying to unlearn previous habits and thought patterns, right? It's not about learning how to do it the right way. It's about learning how to stop doing the things that are inefficient, right? And if you've spent your whole life doing this, it just, even though you know it's not working, and it's just, oh, you're comfortable. This is what I've always done, so this is what I do. And it's like, man, you got to unlearn that and start learning to trust this process now, because what you've done for the last 10, 20 years has not worked.
I think if people actually ask themselves those hard, like I find it so hard writing posts like that because people just glance over it. But honestly, if you ask yourself the hard questions, you'll come to your own answers, and everything that you know isn't what's getting, like, that's not getting you to where you want to be. We are keeping ourselves within a box, and every single thing that we look at is going to confirm our stories. We can't experience things outside of our box until we are forced outside of it. And that's usually where coaching comes in, to make us ask the questions. But the thing is, we don't slow down for long enough to come to reality. Like, there is a reason why you aren't happy where you are now. There is a reason why you feel so stuck, why you keep spinning your wheels. And it's why I'm not biased, but I am such an advocate of coaching. And I, like 90% of coaching, I know you will agree, because it's hard to find someone who doesn't. 90% of coaching is stopping people
psychological.
Yeah, it's stopping people getting in their own way. It is stopping people making daft decisions that are going to hold them back. And now I can actually talk about one of the posts you brought up, because you already spoke about it. I can't tell you, this is Colin's words, by the way, I can't tell you how often people reach out, having done a short reverse diet, which I'm surprised you call it a short reverse diet. I usually get people calling it a mini bulk.
Oh,
I don't know. Like I always.
That's not a thing.
Like, I've done a mini bulk, or I tried to reverse diet, and it's been like a few weeks, maybe eight weeks maximum. Sometimes people are good enough to do it for 12 weeks, but then they want to cut and reveal their muscle now, because they like this is where it's all about. This is what I wanted to talk about before, and then we'll talk about that one as well. But you feel like you just built a shit ton of muscle in 12 weeks, sometimes in 6 months. But you are going to be bigger because, number one, you are now eating more, so there's more glycogen. You're holding more water weight. you're able to train harder, so your muscles are holding more, which is kind of what I said with the whole legs building thing before. I felt like I shrunk into the tiniest piece of string during lockdown because I wasn't training and keeping my legs full. Every single time I trained, this was back then. Right now, I don't get that same experience anymore. I think because I'm years on, maybe you can confirm that as well. But when I started, every single time I trained my legs, I would feel very big, very puffy, very like glycogen full, like I worked my legs. Then when I would go away on holidays or train less, I would feel like I shriveled up because I didn't have that same fullness in my legs. Now I don't get that same feeling. My body's kind of adapted to the stimulus. And I'm not doing the same volume of training. I don't know, but my legs just don't feel that same heaviness anymore that they used to feel. Yes, they can still feel full, especially after I do a really high carb day. But there are periods in time where you are going to feel like you're building more muscle than you actually are until you actually do a fat loss phase and realize, which was my biggest detriment. You keep realizing over and over again that you look the same or worse because you didn't give yourself enough time, which is building this fat loss resistance over time, which fat loss resistance, I will reiterate, it's a state of mind. You are tiring yourself out because you can lose all that fat and get extremely lean. You see people doing that, but people become resistant because they've been mentally dieting their whole lives. It's exhausting. You are not going to stick to things the way that you need to stick to things if you're exhausted from doing it all. Just like that client example that I mentioned before with I'm tracking all the things, I'm sick of logging all the things and focusing so much on trying to lose weight with no return. And that is exactly why people struggle, because that same person was like, I'm tracking everything, I'm doing everything diligently. I'm sick of not seeing results. I'm eating in a deficit. My body is just not the same anymore. It doesn't work like it used to. Well, no shit. You're fatigued from it all. You are doing most of the things in your mind until it actually comes to tracking it. And then you realize maybe I'm not as consistent as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not logging things as like adherently as I thought that I was. The rest of his post, I respond with, you almost for sure need more time. And it's super risky to cut too soon. They cut anyway.
Sounds like I said that.
Yeah, this is you. They cut anyway and then freak out, getting upset. They can't see progress. You have the rest of this is the whole patience thing. You have the rest of your life to do this. People, I feel like coaches. I should put up that red flags for coaches post I have a red flags for coaches. They're always cutting every summer. They're always on the next fat loss phase. There is always 1 or 2 fat loss phases each year. That is such a negative thing to send out to clients, to send out to the public when we are trying to get people to stay outside of dieting for longer. Yet coaches are guilty of doing the exact same thing because you have the rest of your life to do this. And if you keep dieting for every summer or every event, you are not giving yourself the chance to get to where you want to be. And if it wasn't for me doing a 3-year build, I would not have the physique I have now. Yes, it's easy for me to say because I look fit, I look lean. Yeah. Just so you know, Colin, I was born out of my mum's womb with all of this muscle mass. I didn't have to lift shit. I didn't have to lift shit. I was born like this. Like,
yeah, it definitely wasn't the 3 years of being out of a deficit and building and then working hard and training hard that whole time instead of just saying, well, I'm not losing weight, so there's no point. I might as well just do whatever.
Because I want you to go off on this tangent now. Because this is true. It's like, it feels like nothing's happening. It will not feel like, it will feel like nothing's happening. It will until it doesn't. Because then progress is slow. I'm working so hard, but nothing's happening. And I actually just tagged you in my post from today because I remember the caption. It took me 2 hours to write that caption. But anyway, because there was so much on my mind. It's like, this is taking up 4,000 characters and I need 2,000. So anyway.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, there is a timeline. Like, it is so important for us to know what our level of, what is your hard? Is your hard showing the fuck up and doing the thing and not complaining? Or is it taking a step back to reevaluate, to readjust, to take the rest? Because your grinding is exactly what's got you caught where you are. Or is it pivoting and going in the right direction for the first time, being willing to slow down a little, to not feel like you're being productive chasing something, and then to reevaluate and move in a different direction?
Yeah. And, a couple points that you talked about, you're talking about sick of tracking, and we all hear that. And And of course, there's people who say you don't have to track. And sure, like there's plenty of people who don't track and it's not like you have to, but it sure as hell is very helpful, right? But here's what I always question people if they say, I'm sick of tracking and I need to take a break. And hey, we all need breaks sometimes. I get it. But is it the tracking that you're sick of? Or is it the accountability that comes with tracking to having to stick to your diet that you're sick of? Because I find 9 times out of 10 times it's not that I don't want to track. It's I don't want to have to eat the way I have to eat if I am tracking. I just want to eat whatever I want. And if I track, I'm not going to feel bad about it, right? So be very clear what you're sick of. Because a lot of times it's not tracking. And it's just like, we all get burnt out, but 99 times out of 100, burnout is action without results, right? You're putting in the work and you're not seeing results for your efforts. It leads to burnout. You get sick of it. Now you don't want to track because I'm not seeing results anyways. Now I just want to go crazy and I can't do that if I'm tracking, right? So it's always a good question to ask yourself and be really honest if you do feel like you're getting sick of it. Which one is it? And the other thing, you kind of talked about reaching your goal. Say you reach your goal body or whatever, right? So we're not looking for weights, we're looking for a certain body, which that's a whole other thing. But the thing that can be really mentally challenging, and it's something that I always want to have people really think deep about, is if you reach whatever goal you have, and this can be fat loss, this can be business goals, this can be any goal in life. Sometimes the worst thing that can possibly happen to you is that you actually reach your goal and create the success you're after. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times it leads you to lose your drive and purpose and you feel lost. It's like, okay, you reached your body, but if you want to keep that body, you still got to keep working out. You still got to keep paying attention to what you're eating. You still have to live this lifestyle. You can't just be done, right? So it's like, what's the least motivating thing in the world for people? Putting in work and not seeing results. What is weight maintenance? What is lose the weight and keep it off means? To keep it off means you keep putting in the work, but nothing changes. You just stay the same. That's really mentally challenging. So there's a lot of reasons why the diet after diet's harder, hormonally, metabolically, all that type of stuff, yes. But a big part of it is just we're motivated by seeing those physical changes. Now you're not going to see it. What do you focus your attention on now? What's your next? It's never done. It's what's next. And this is why, even if you're not a bodybuilder or anything, I really feel like building and cutting phases can be just fantastic for everyone because it gives a purpose to your reverse diet and weight gain. I want to build muscle. Muscle has weight. The scale is going to go up if I'm adding muscle. So rather than it's just, oh, I just don't want to gain any weight. I want to increase my calories, but really don't want to gain any weights. And then every time the weight goes up a little bit, you start freaking out versus I'm intentionally doing this. Now it's going towards good use. It gives you more purpose. It gives you a reason to keep showing up and working hard in the gym. And then down the road, a long time down the road, hopefully, you can come back and cut and probably look even better at the same or even higher weights. So it's just really dangerous to get caught up in that end goal because we always feel like that's the thing that's going to make me happy, when in reality, it's usually the chase towards the dream. At least if I'm speaking for myself anyways, I'm usually the happiest when I have a big goal that I'm working towards and I'm putting in the work to try to reach that. And there's the excitement of, if I keep going, if I keep doing this, I will eventually get there. Once I get there, it's like, yes, I'm proud and it's great. But then it's like, okay, now what? Right? Like, and you can feel really lost.
There's so many notes that I just took. Oh my God. Okay. So I will touch on the tracking part later, but that last part that you just said, stop doing both at the same time because you chase both rabbits, catch none, because you're trying to run in 2 different directions. But I personally think the cutting and bulking is dumb for the majority because no one knows how to approach it for a lifestyle. It's a build, not a bulk. You don't just force feed or force train muscle on. And it's not like a 10%, a 20% surplus where you're just eating more food. This is that whole intentionally eating more. Like you don't just go from a fat loss phase into let's start eating more food, or I'm not fat lossing anymore. This means I'm building muscle. I get so many, this is where I actually get most of my clients come to me. They've just stopped dieting and then they gained all the weight back. They never, reverse dieting didn't work for them. Building muscle or doing this didn't work for them. They only saw results when they were in a fat loss phase. You don't just eat more food and all of a sudden you're going to build a physique. The training is freaking important. Matching your training to your nutrition is freaking important. You don't just force feed it. Like, I need to say that again. And the hardest part, which is exactly what Colin said before and what I said before, it takes 5 times as long to build as it does to cut, because muscle building is a very long time. Especially as a female, especially if you're not on pads. Like, I've been trying to get bulky my whole life.
Yes,
3
same.
years of eating almost 3,000 calories myself. I gained 6 kilos, aka about 12 to 14 pounds over 3 years. And now I'm back down, not to the same weight that I started at. I'm probably about 4 pounds, 2 kilos heavier. I don't know. I keep forgetting to step on the scale half the time, but averages around that. And I'm the leanest I've ever been. Like, even leaner than on stage, I look like a stringy bean. Like, I look leaner now than I did on stage because I have a lot more muscle mass now. It's like I'm at a heavier weight, but my body looks so much better. I now look at the leaner photos and it's like, how did I even find that attractive? Like, there is nothing to me and I have no life in my face. It's like, now I'm at a place where I'm thriving. You can, like, so yes, build and then fat loss, or be not happy seeing much eating in and out of fat loss and maintenance, and fat loss and maintenance probably looking worse over time. Or you can try and do both and lean, build, and maintenance, but you're going to need a lot more patience for that. Patience a lot of us don't have, which is me right now, because I've done that already. And you're the same. We've done that bulk and cut cycle before, and build and cut cycle before. We've done the build. We did the build. We did the cut. We did the build. We did the cut. We did the longer build after we learned all of our lessons. And then we did a fat loss phase. We got a much leaner physique at the end of it, because a much leaner physique at the end of it, because we built the muscle in the build before. Like, that is why we're leaner. It is not because we dieted there. We built it over the years going through that discomfort. But now it's like we got to the point where we were talking about in the DMs. We got to a point where we're now happy with just like cruising and maintenance, eating a little bit in a surplus at times, maintenance at other times, and just hovering between there. But now it's just like, I'm at this place where it's like, now what? I just want to build. I want to have something to build towards. So yes, I want to build, but there is no point setting a goal upon yourself if you haven't yet set the foundations, if you haven't got the lifestyle stuff in check, which this is something you wanted to talk about as well with the lifestyle adversity. Because if you haven't got all of that outside stuff in check, it doesn't matter what goals you have set upon yourself, because you're going to find ways to sabotage yourself due to the things that are happening outside around you. And you put up a video a while ago where it's just like, it gets worse before it gets better. And that's what I call the shit before the fit. Like, things are hard before they become easy. But I would quickly want to go into that tracking part. Is it that you don't want to keep yourself accountable to eating a certain way? Why can't you do that stuff now? Why are you making tracking more complicated than it should be? People keep looking for recipes in the next Michelin chef. And it's like, people are looking for these ways to entertain themselves because their life lacks so much fulfillment, because all they've known is dieting. And that used to be me. Like, my feed used to be full of recipes, full of food porn. I'm not that person anymore. It's funny. Like, I don't see any food stuff on my thing now, except now I'm starting to get them again because I keep sending little snippets to clients for simple recipes, which to me is just like, just make shit simple. Like, know what your protein is, know what your colorful foods are, fruit and veg, know what your carbs are, play around with the flavors, play around with how you cook the meal, and you can make 10 different meals with the same ingredients. But are you tracking just to hit strict macros, or do you have ranges? Or better yet, are you learning how to eat? Because if you learn how to eat, you learn, like, this goes back to the fat loss isn't sustainable part. You're probably going to have to be strict and accountable to every single little thing that you eat in a fat loss phase. And that's why it's not sustainable. If you learn to thrive without a foot still out of the door in maintenance, in eating more, this is when you start to learn how to factor these things in, because you can have a placeholder meal, or you can have a basic structure of what your meals are. And then you don't have to track that dinner out. You know that you've now left 800 calories for a dinner meal, and you don't have to feel, you should never feel guilty for food anyway, but you don't have to feel guilty within yourself and then say, fuck it, I'm not tracking for the next few days because I fucked up, which is where a lot of people find themselves. So I think I left a lot there. And that whole, there is no done to an end goal. What's going to happen once you get there? And if, like, this is the thing, what is going to happen once you get there? You don't keep eating the same calories, and you don't do the exact same things as you were when you were dieting, but you do need to learn the habits that must stick into a maintenance phase, learning how to intentionally eat more food, when to pop into a surplus, how to then work with that surplus and not shortcut yourself, feel fluffy, and then put yourself back in dieting calories to thrive, to perform, to transform. Take it over. You can take that as long as you want now, because that was a lot.
No, I mean, like, I kind of said it before, but it's like people are typically happiest when they're making progress, right? That's when we're usually the most happy. And even if you reach your goal, progress is now done in your mind, right? And where do you go? And if you don't have something else to now start making progress towards, it can even be as simple as just some performance-based goals, right? Like I want to try to get stronger, whatever, better times or whatever it is you like to do is fine. But if you don't have anything to work towards, it gets really boring and mundane, which is, that's a kind of a different topic, but I was going to kind of get into how a lot of times people do jump to different programs because they get bored, which sometimes you got to, right? Like a lot of this process is kind of boring and mundane if you're doing it the right way. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't get it through enough that there's no end. It doesn't exist. There's no done. And once you realize that and truly accept that, it gives you so much power, because now there's no rush anymore. Why am I in such a rush? You might have 50 years ahead of you. Who cares if it's going to take a couple years to get where you want to be? Even if it does, what are you going to do at that point? And it's like, the thing that kills me is it's amazing how long things in the future feel like they are away, but how short things in the past are, right? I tell somebody it's going to take 2 or 3 years to reach your goal. Oh my gosh, that's forever. I can't do it for that long. There's no way. COVID lockdowns happened like 4.5 years ago. What? That feels like yesterday, right? Like time's going to go and it's going to go fast. So don't worry about how long it's going to take. Just enjoy the journey. Put one foot in front of the other and stop trying to rush. And that goes right into your force feeding bulk thing. It's the exact same mindset as starvation diets and people who try to crash diet. It's the same thing. You're just trying to rush the process again. I don't want to spend 2 years building in a systematic way. Let's just gain that 30 pounds in the next 3 months and then I'm done. Okay, well, congrats. You just build 28 pounds of fat and 2 pounds of muscle and barely did anything for your metabolism, but okay, we just got to slow down. Everything that is so frustrating about this process that gets people so up in arms and always makes them want to quit, it all comes down to lack of patience, to trying to rush things. Like I just made a post recently about how this lifestyle should not add stress. Like so many people view needing to work out and stay on their diet as adding stress to their plate. If it's adding stress, something's wrong. This lifestyle should add to your life, not add stress. And the only reason there's stress is because you're placing way too much value on the result, especially the speed of the result. And if you just slow down and just let the progress come in the time that it's going to come and let it take how long it's going to take, now you can appreciate the process. Now you can appreciate the progress is what I meant to say versus, I'm not where I want to be yet. I have so far to go. I'm not there yet. Yeah, but you're making great progress. Why are you down about it? You can either focus on how far you have to go and let that get you down, which the more down you get about things, the less likely you are to continue on and stick to your plan. Or you can celebrate the progress you're making and be happy that you're making any progress and put yourself in a good mood. I don't understand this need to go so fast.
I honestly, like the last part you said, that's what I just wanted to highlight there. You can't appreciate the progress you make if you're not enjoying the progress and the process. And this all comes back down to that you cannot have a journey lacking life, lacking fulfillment on your way somewhere that you're magically meant to be happy, because you don't just wake up one day and everything changes. You become that person. Your life evolves with you. Like everything evolves. I hate the whole fill your cup up so you can pour for others. Like, no, fill your cup up so much that it overflows. That's what this journey should be like. So you overflow into others, not so you pour into other people, but so you keep thriving and being able to, like, you become a better human in the process. I'm going to read 2 more of your posts out because I think they're important. The first one is one that you keep touching on over and over again because it is the most important. People constantly try quick fixes and end up fatter. People put all their money into a 100 times leverage trade and blow it all. People sell their soul. That reminds me of freaking Charmed, The Three Witches, if anyone's watched that. Let me know, actually, if you have, because that was my favorite show. I used to binge watch it. Anyway, people sell their soul and get into business with shady people for short-term gain that backfires. What's the common denominator? Always trying to take shortcuts ends poorly. You know, when you pay for a botchy cheap job and then you're going to have to do it over again or buy a whole new thing because you tried to go the cheaper route. Like, it's the same thing, but your health isn't something to bet on, which is why I think a coach is a must. Like, you cannot guess this shit. It's your health. It's your future. You only have one shot at it. You have one body. It is never too late to try to improve. But the best time to have started is yesterday, because you're the youngest you'll ever be today.
Yep.
Oh, and the second post, because this is what I wanted you to tie up with. Resilience and perseverance are the most important factors for any long-term weight loss success. It isn't about avoiding difficulties. It's about accepting adversity and setbacks as a normal part of life. The real strength comes from refusing to be defined by your struggles, not judging yourself for mistakes, and pushing forward. And I feel like so many people judge themselves, berate themselves, and it's this negativity bias. We are so quick to focus on past predicaments that we rob ourselves of any future. And I have this saying that's just like, every single time that you put off for tomorrow, you're stealing all of your todays. You're having empty todays in the hope of a better tomorrow, which means that we're only going to have empty tomorrows if that's what we keep on saying.
It's just, I mean, every culture will tell you the same thing. The people who succeed are the ones that have the perseverance to keep going through tough times. Like, I think people get caught up in feeling like everything should be great all the time and they should never have challenges. And once they do, then it means, okay, well, we got to put everything on hold until I can get this fixed, right? And then what ends up happening is you spend the rest of your life getting off track because something challenging in life happened. And I'm not trying to discredit. Some people go through really, really terrible things. We all do. But it's the ability to keep going towards those goals that you have through those challenging times that actually makes you a stronger person. That's going to be the thing that's going to get you where you want to be. Because otherwise, if you teach yourself, and this is what you're doing, you literally are teaching yourself that when things get hard, you give up. And the more you do it, the easier it is to give up every single time, because it's just what you do, right? That's just what you've always done. So that's what you do. You have to teach yourself that, no, I can keep going. And what you find is that all the value and the pride that comes from going through those tough times, but keeping going even though it's challenging, is so much better than when things go easy. I've almost got to the point now, in almost a weird, twisted way, that when really shitty things in my life happen and it gets really challenging and stuff, I almost get excited, because I'm like, hell yeah, if I keep going now and get through this really challenging moment, I'm going to feel freaking amazing on the other side, because I have learned that by going through the challenging times and keeping moving forward, that it builds so much pride. It's like you can either choose regret or you can choose pride. Those are your choices every time it comes up. And adversity is going to change you. Anytime adversity comes in your life, it will change you. Whether it makes you a weaker person or a stronger person depends on how you choose to respond to that adversity. And if you give in every single time something challenging happens, you get weaker and weaker and weaker. But if you keep going and push through, you get stronger. You can't grow without struggle. It's not even possible. You have to have the struggle to grow. So step up and take that challenge. Get the reward for it. That's what Eric Thomas says. You're already in pain. Get a reward for it. Don't make things worse. And in a weird way, like, I think what people really struggle with is they just feel like they need to take stuff off their plate when life gets hard, right? And I get it. Like, life is challenging. There's a lot of stuff that we all have to deal with. So it's like when work has fallen apart and things at home are tough and everything's falling apart and everywhere you look, everything's just a shit show. Well, I just need to take something off my plate. So the fitness goals, you take it off your plate and you just stop. But it doesn't actually help. It doesn't make you feel any better. But when you stick with it, and I'm not saying you can't back off, you can, but you at least keep showing up. What that does for you is it gives you some sense of normalcy in your life. It gives you some sense of control, because all the things that happen, 99 out of 100 things that happen in our life are things that are completely out of our control, like the bad stuff, the stressful stuff, the stuff that we get really stressed about. It's all things out of your control. But what do you always have control over? Even though it gets harder sometimes, what do you have control over? Your exercise and your nutrition. And if you just keep doing those things, now you feel like you have some sort of control in your life. It builds wins. It builds momentum into other areas. You feel good. It always feels good to do the thing that you know you should, but you don't feel like doing it. But you do it anyways, and that makes you feel good. And it just like snowballs into this positive thing that helps you with everything in life, like we talked about earlier. So it's like, the adversities are tough, but they're the very thing you need to become the person you want to be. And you can't keep stopping, because otherwise it's just going to keep coming up. Something happens. It's going to take a few months. So you go, screw it. I can't give 100%. So I'm just going to wait until it does. Then it finally passes. You come back, you start for another 2 months. Then the next life challenge comes up and then you stop again. And it's just like, just repeats and repeats and repeats. And you can never actually get anywhere. So stop waiting for life to slow down and stay that way, because it's never going to. I like the rule of thirds. A third of your life is going to be good. A third of your life is going to be okay. A third of your life is going to suck. And when you're in those sucky parts, it doesn't mean something's wrong. It's just part of life, and you just accept like, hey, I'm in that third of my life, and it's challenging, but I just got to keep going. Versus, I think we get so caught up in I should feel good all the time. Everything should always be great, and it's just not the case. It's not that something's wrong. It's just life, you know. Sorry, long rant, but that's what I do.
I actually really loved that part, because that's the thing. Like, this is all life, and we're kind of separating life and fitness from all of this. When when health and fitness is meant to enhance our life, and time is going to pass anyway. You either take the reins and make it something that makes everything else a lot more enjoyable, a lot more enhanced, like the energy that you'll be able to have, the better parent you'll be, the more income you'll make, because you start to show up better at work, you start to demand more, you go for more promotions, you start the thing that you didn't have the confidence to start before. Like, it's all just, you become one with the process. And I want to call this podcast What Causes Fat Loss Resistance. And I feel like it's this very thing. It's the impatience. It's this all or nothing mentality that stops us actually doing what we need to do to get the results that we want. Because this whole weight loss resistance isn't real unless we make it real. You can lose the fat, you can build the muscle, you can get that end goal. But most of the time, the end goal that we want isn't the actual lifestyle we want with it. But going through the journey, we start to reveal exactly what that lifestyle looks like. We start to get to our chiseled, lean, fit physique that allows us to live a life on our terms the way that we want to. Because you need to be willing to live the lifestyle of whatever result that you want. And it's not something that just happens overnight. There's no rush there. It's something you create, and it all starts today, not tomorrow, not next week. It starts today, because you're always going to have to eat. There's no going around that. You're always going to have to move your body. You're always going to have to do something. You're making, in this book, The Slight Edge, he says, you're always making those choices regardless. It's just, are they ones that are on the success curve, or are they on the failure curve? You're choosing to eat every day. You're choosing to move your body every day. You're choosing to go to sleep every day. You're choosing to do your nighttime routine every day. You're choosing to start your morning every day. But what of those choices is serving you? What's hindering you? Easy to do, easy not to do. Hard to do many times because it's different from the way that we've done them. But if we don't start to build ourselves up and we expect ourselves to perform at level 10 when we haven't even advanced through the levels beforehand, you're setting yourself up to fail from the get-go. Don't rush this. What a great conversation. I reckon we could go on.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. I think that the end part and the part on the tracking, completely the most important part. It's get realistic with what phase you are in your life right now and how it all blends together, and realize that this is all on a spectrum. This is all a lifespan of a journey, not a 12-week span. And once you give yourself that grace, you'll be able to grit, but you cannot grit without the grace.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we all overjudge ourselves, and it just doesn't do any good. I always like to say, how would you talk to somebody else who comes to you with the exact same situation, right? And talk to yourself the same way. We've got to be kinder to ourselves. So I know we've gone on forever, but yeah, I mean, it's the means to the end. It's not the end. I think that's an important thing to always remember.
I love that. I love that so much. Is there anything else? I'm going to get Colin's Instagram below, but it's at Colin Deway, Dewaay. Almost said W again. I always say W and Y the wrong way. Dewaay. You'll see that down below as well. Is there anything else that you want to put in? I know that you're mostly on YouTube as well, so
YouTube and Instagram. Yeah, YouTube, and it's the same thing. My name, Colin Deway, 1 L 2 A's, and yeah, I mean, this was fun. I felt like I could have gone on for another hour and a half. So thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I love all your content, and it was an honor for me to be on here, and really appreciate it.
I always try to keep up with yours as well. Honestly, he puts up some, like, this is the thing about clickbait content. It's like you need like so many people catch you with clickbait content, but they don't give you the shit that actually matters, the shit that actually counts, to what is the truth behind that. And Colin does that. Like, he explains it. And it's always coming back to this same thing. It doesn't matter which way you want to polish it or shine it. It's patience. It's doing the process the right way. It's not sabotaging yourself. I'll end it by saying 90% of coaching is stopping people doing dumb shit.
Pretty much.
And it's none of it. Like, we're not, I'm not saying that it's your fault for doing it. It's emotional. I did it. Colin did it. We're all human, but we learn from that. Let yourself learn from it too and give yourself the best chance. With that,
yes.
Thank you for coming on. I'll put Colin's stuff below. And if you enjoyed this, let us know. Message us. Go check out Colin. And yeah.
Bye-bye.